Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to present to this for the next half an hour my talk on light pollution and related aspects. And my big thank you to the organizers for allowing me to be part of this special event. Thank you very much. As you heard before, I'm practicing independent lighting architect and researcher, and the topic of this lecture is visible on the screen, should be visible on the screen. So the lecture is going to look into causes of light pollution, its impact and how it can be mitigated based on good and bad examples of realized lighting projects in Europe, the US, the US and Asia. I will present different initiatives which are trying to reduce the light pollution, and hopefully at the end of this presentation we can arrive at the conclusion what else can be done to reduce the negative impact of artificial lighting on our planet. Today our cities are being used 24/7 and are flooded with artificial lighting. Consequently, NASA Outer Space photographs show that there are not many dark areas left on the Earth's surface, which has an enormous impact on the visibility of night sky. This view on the Earth from space shows continuous continents outlined with light and all centers of industry and commerce all over the developed and developing world. You can also see that the greatest light pollution you have in North America, Europe, and Asia. Research has identified three main elements of this phenomenon of light littering the Earth's atmosphere, also known as light pollution. These are urban sky glow, light trespass, and discomfort glare. So urban sky glow refers to the brightening of the night sky in urban areas as a result of different of direct and indirect reflection of scattered light on the constituents of the atmosphere. Sorry. I think we resolved now the issue. So, as you can see on the first picture, this was the urban sky glow, and on the second picture you see the light trespass, and it's a commonly phenomenon in the city and describes as lighting trespassing inside the illuminated objects or passes of real estates. And the last one, the glare, is a visual sensation where there is a feeling of discomfort and decreased ability to recognize objects or eye irritation. So how does it work? This diagram shows these three causes of light pollution based on typical street lighting. Urban sky glow is all. So urban sky glow is all above this horizontal line. We can also see the direct glare. There is a standing person and looking directly into the unshielded light source, and light trespass into the building. All of this is waste, and the area to be lit is shown as a white triangle. So actually, this should be the light we really need, and all of this is the light pollution. Also, I would like to point out that development of exterior illumination in the modern cities, based on the increased light pollution, was not a linear process. Starting from the invention of electrical light bulb in 1880s, with new technological invention in 1920s and 30s, where there was lighting to skyscrapers, and then between this, we have the blackouts of the Second World War, where of course there was no external lighting, or very little. And then, as the economy was growing, external illumination and light pollution was increasing. in 50s and 60s in Europe and in the US. And then we have, again, energy crisis in 70s, when there was no money to light the city externally. And after this time, there is steady increase of external illumination and also light pollution. And the projection is that availability of the new technologies as LEDs and their lower cost as well as globalization is going to lead to a huge increase in light pollution in the future. So let's have a look at the impact of artificial lighting and light pollution on flora, especially birds and fish, where we can distinguish between atmosphere and water light pollution. For millions of years, birds evolved under day-night cycles, where the bright light of the sun during the day was replaced at night by weak light from the stars, moonlight, and planets. The attraction of birds to light has been unknown for a long time, causing heavy mortality while flying into lighthouses, illuminated television towers, as well as other externally and internally lit structures. According to research, many hundreds of species of birds typically migrate at night and use the stars as a wayfinding system. They follow light frequencies using internal magnetic clock. When the night is moonlit and clear, generally under these conditions, birds fly higher and sail over the top of the buildings well out of harm. Artificial light in moonless and during overcast nights impairs the orientation ability of birds. Due to the brightly externally and internally lit glass buildings, the birds can get confused and crash into windows, and on lower levels especially may fly into images of trees reflected in the glass. This photo shows 2,000 dead birds that were collected by members of a fatal lighting awareness program during a single migratory season in fall in 2003 in Toronto, Canada. Is it not upsetting? Birds appear to have excellent color vision, which attracts them to colored light. According to research, red and white light have disorienting effect due to light frequencies. Less attraction by birds was shown by use of the blue and ultraviolet light. I'm sure that everybody knows this project. The Tribute in Light was a unique temporary memorial lighting installation. It consists of 2 beams of white light representing twin towers, which has been destroyed in 2001. While working in New York City, I had the privilege to be part of the design and focusing team of a lighting design practice called Shimmer and Stone. We used 88 searchlights, each utilizing 7,000 watts with ultra-filtered white light. The visibility of the beams was changing with weather, and on cloudy nights the light illuminated the particles and moisture and has been seen up to 25 miles. And to be honest with you, these lights attracted birds. Can you see the white lights in the beam? These are birds and moths. I think as it was temporary installation, one of such great importance to the humanity, this lighting design approach has been accepted. But in general, it was causing a lot of light pollution and negatively impacted on the environment. There are not so many environmentally bird-friendly lighting schemes for tall buildings and structures, I have to admit. One such excellent example is a scheme designed in the heart of London by architect Norman Foster and Pearson Major, they are lighting designers, where there is no external lighting applied to the building. And even though the nighttime image of the building is recognized by everyone in the city, and is a kind of icon. Another great, very sensitive lighting design comes from Japan. To support the sustainable approach, reduce energy use and carbon emission for different lighting scenes has been proposed for the Mori Tower project in Tokyo. They have the first lighting scene from dusk until 8 p.m., then from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m., then from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m., and from 2 a.m. until dawn. When working as associate lighting designer at Light Bureau in London, in 2008 and 2009, I was involved in preparing lighting master plan for the new luxurious yacht development in Republic of Montenegro at the Kotor Bay. It's worth to state that these areas of extreme natural beauty and darkness, and before the war in Yugoslavia for the independence, in this area there was a Serbian naval base, so they would go with submarines there and repair there. The bay and the surrounding territory are protected by UNESCO World Heritage Site, and one of the challenges was to light the existing crane. So the crane structure is the tallest element of the jetty and is located further out into the water. We knew that it would be not an easy task, but it was important because Light demanded who would create a recognizable landmark of the Porto Montenegro development, and he wanted to have it make it visible from places located along the coastline, as well as for people on yachts. So lighting concept to the crane structure was minimalistic and not too dominant due to environmental reasons, as well as the adjacent residential development. But on the other hand, it's not possible to ignore this relic of the past without any even subtle illumination. It was the intention to evoke the memory of the crane function during the nighttime. Therefore, certain key elements of the structure have been illuminated by light. And there are two lighting scenes, early night and late night scene. So you can see, you can see actually here, we only have aviation lighting from 12 o'clock until dawn. In order to make sure we are using the minimum amount of energy and avoid spill light into the atmosphere, lighting mock-ups were performed. Also, the light is activated via astronomical time clock facility, and it's switched on half an hour before the dusk. And final power consumption, that's probably interesting, also for my previous speaker, is approximately 1,300 watts. So it's not a lot. And we used 3 different light sources and on this project. What's interesting is that we have different lighting samples. We did some tests in the office. We tested this physically to really reduce the light pollution. And we marked up the areas so that the contractor could come and position the fixtures appropriately. And this is the final result in the early evening. There can be also light pollution in the water. What you may be not aware of is that fishes, as humans, have consoles in their eyes, which enable them to discriminate colors. Light conditions in water differ from those on land, not only in their intensity, but also in depth of penetration of various wavelengths. The longer wavelengths, for example red and orange, are absorbed first, with over 25 of red light being absorbed in the first meter of water, while blue and green light are not strongly absorbed. And this is why we perceive the sea to be blue or green-blue. The visual spectrum of fish depends on the nature of their habitat. So fish which live in predominantly shallow waters are more sensitive to the longer wavelengths of light, for example red and orange, while as depth increases, the visual spectrum narrows considerably, starting with the blue and green, and the majority of fish can distinguish colors quite well up to 15 meters. So imagine what happens when light shines directly into the water. This is a very good example of negative consequences of light pollution in the water. Santiago Calatrava designed this unique pedestrian bridge across the Sacramento River in California. Although this bridge is of great aesthetic and architectural design, it's not environmentally friendly with respect to nighttime lighting. Actually, lighting under it should be considered a serious threat. You will ask for sure why. Fish like young salmon migrate through streams, rivers, and estuaries to the ocean. These fishes migrate at night, cued by the illumination levels, and this timing is designed to reduce predation. According to observations, lighting of this bridge presents a possible predator trap for wild salmon migrating from areas above the bridge. So what's happening? Predators are, as birds or other smaller animals, position themselves under lights on a bridge to locate and capture the fish. Additionally, glass floor deck, so you can see this here, right? Is floodlit from below, and also light is directly shining into the water as well, ultimately reducing the number of successful migrants. And this is another project. This is a sculptural 75-meter long piece whose purpose is to create a link over a lake between two parts of Kew Gardens, that's a botanic garden near London, and it has been designed by Lighting Studios Bristol Major. The lighting treatment is simple, understated, and in tune with nature of the design. Custom-made LEDs uplights are recessed in the granite planks of this bridge here, in between. And people crossing, to actually reflect light on the deck, and people crossing the span. So the small diameter fittings were developed with a single 1-watt LED and set low down to minimize the visibility of the source. And also, an additional frosted glass disc is reducing, you can see it here. So this is glass, black, and this is reducing the glare. So lighting designers first questions the illumination of the bridge given its location in a botanic garden and its possible impact it might have on the environment, flora and of course fauna, as well as the light pollution. In the end, after discussions with the client, ecologists and ichthyologists, so these are the researchers researching the fish, life of fish, it has been agreed that a scheme sensitive to allowing use of the garden during the nighttime events program will be developed, and when there is also no visitors, the lighting would be simply switched off. Artificial light can also have impact on human beings. Light reaching the human eye has a visual effect and biological effect, as we already heard yesterday, so I'm not really going to focus. I'm sure the next presenters are going to talk about it more as well. But I just only wanted to mention this connection, that the body clock in humans governs sleep, eating patterns, mental alertness, or fatigue, heart rate, hormone production, and mood patterns, and so on and so on. This 24-hour circadian rhythm is set by seasons, by sunlight, and by temperature, and particular wavelengths of natural light, but also artificial light, during the day and night activate different sets of hormones and determine biological and biochemical activity of the human body, and they also regulate natural circadian rhythm. It has been established that around the middle of the day, light appears to have little effect on the phase of this clock. During the middle of the night, the effect of artificial light stimulation can be quite profound. Even a short time of exposure to artificial light can disturb the body's production of melatonin, which plays a role in resetting the body's daily biological clock. I was told by some researchers that it's enough to have 2 seconds of exposure. So if you have at night, if you go, you are thirsty, wake up, you are thirsty, you open the fridge where you have LEDs, it's for 2 seconds. It's enough to actually stop the production. Latest scientific and medical research reveals that human health and well-being are profoundly affected by the intensity and different color spectrum of light. So far, except medical field, little is known by the general public about these non-visual effects of light. And in 2001, a group of scientists of Thomas Jefferson University, the Department of Neurobiology in the USA, under Professor George Brainerd, identified a new photoreceptor type in the eye, which is called shortly IPRGC. And It differs from rods and cones, and we know today that this group of newly discovered cells is responsible for regulating the internal circadian clock in humans. These cells, that's important, are sensitive in the blue light region of the spectrum between 460 to 500 nanometers. When humans are exposed to white or blue light at night, so the typical light produced by current LEDs and compact fluorescent lamps, and also metal halide lamps used for the street lighting, the IPRGC sends information to the brain to to stop the production of melatonin, and this in turn adversely affects the immune system and triggers a number of biochemical processes. So melatonin production also significantly affects the regulations of anti-cancer and anti-germ cells. And humans require a properly functioning circadian rhythm and appropriate melatonin levels in order to repair the body tissue at night. Therein lies the problem. Humans spend considerable amount of time under artificial light sources, including outdoor spaces, that cannot mimic the spectral content and level of illumination of natural light. But why I'm showing this to you? Artificial light at night, shortly ALAN, is a rapidly increasing phenomenon, and is acknowledged to have worldwide consequences. Light at night has been associated with health problems in humans as a consequence of altered natural day and night biological rhythms. Light trespass is a common occurrence in the city at night. It involves the leak of artificial light beyond the property or area that is illuminated when speedlight from a street light or illumination architecture or some advertisements enters a window and light an indoor area. You can see this here. So we know already that human beings, flora and fauna, require a period of continuous darkness during a 24-hour cycle based on evolutionary adaptations to the specific environment they live in. Now I'd like to present to you a few lighting initiatives to reduce light pollution. There are no effective worldwide policies for reduction of light pollution. I listed a few above. I would say that in Europe, Slovenia has the most demanding lighting legislation, and it bans a light emission above the horizontal for luminaires over 20 watt. Then there are some parts of Italy, and as well as Czech Republic. They are in forefront. A new light pollution law has been introduced in July 2013 in France. And it's interesting because under this law, lights in shops, windows, displays has to be turned off at 1 a.m. until 7 a.m. And interior lights in offices and in other non-residential buildings, they have to be switched off an hour after a last employee leaves. But local councils are able to make exceptions for Christmas and other special occasions, and in certain tourist or cultural areas, as for example Paris. This law has been introduced by the French Minister of Ecology, Sustainability, Sustainable Development and Energy, but there is a problem. Because of no monitoring by local and central administration, so actually nobody is controlling amount of pollution. In Asia, in Japan, there are light pollution guidelines, but they are only voluntary. And in New York, in the USA, there are no specific recommendations against light pollution as well. But there are also guidelines which can be followed by designers and building owners in an attempt to limit the negative effects of light pollution and light trespass. The International Commission of Illumination, CIE, and the Institute of Lighting Engineers from the UK recently defined the base for a well-designed external illumination in the form of environmental zones. So there are 5 different zones. And so how does it work? The lighting designer must surrender his vision of external illumination to specific requirements for a particular project located in a given environmental zone. These relate to aspects such as acceptable level of sky glow, light trespass into the windows of the facade, and permissible average of maximum luminance of the facade. But the problem is that the upward light is going to illuminate molecules and particles along the line of sight of an observer, which scatters such light, creating a luminous background, as you can see here. This is this orange light, and the light is distributed even up to 200 kilometers from the light source. Therefore, the adoption of protection zones does not make a lot of sense unless zones with radius of hundreds of kilometers are adopted. What's not going to happen? So we are creating guidelines without even talking to astronomers and other, scientific researchers, and they are actually useless. Well, not useless, but there could be something better. Another initiative is a lighting master plan. A comprehensive vision of external illumination of a city or its part. It contains a complete strategy for illuminating the city at night and detailed site analysis of existing lighting conditions, together with suggestions for improvement, and also operational strategy for lighting control system and proposals for energy savings. It describes the functional lighting needs and also the key proposals for external illumination of buildings, then permitted levels of luminance on the building facades, approved types of heights of luminaires, and color temperature of the light sources, as well as proposed intensity of illumination assigned to the specific parts of the plan. It also defines, or it should define, the programs related to sustainable development and environmental protection. So one of the possible solutions to the problem of reducing light intensity, which has been implemented and allowed darkness, is a flexible lighting control system. And I would like to present you a project which I think is very interesting also for the city of Graz.
Mijn naam is Robert Breukans, ik werk bij de afdeling openbare werken van de gemeente Nuenen. Ik ben verantwoordelijk voor de wegen in Nuenen, voor de openbare verlichting zoals hier, voor civiele kunstwerken en nog wel andere disciplines. De gemeente Nuenen telt ongeveer 22.500 inwoners en heeft circa 5500 lichtpunten.
Ik vind het een prachtige omgeving, een rustige omgeving, rustiek en heerlijk om te wonen. En we hebben licht als het licht moet zijn en geen of minder licht als het er niet echt hoeft te zijn. En dat geeft ook veel meer rust in de straat en het gevoel is daar ook veel beter bij. Dat gevoel van veiligheid, dat als altijd de lichten uit zijn of alleen maar aan, jij let nergens meer op. En nu weet je van hé, er zit actie in en er gebeurt iets in de straat.
Een stukje in een nostalgisch geheel. Daar hoort het intelligentiesysteem denk ik bij. Nostalgisch betekent in dit geval meer dat je een eenheid wil creëren en de lantaarnpalen passen daar gewoon naast.
Als je hier loopt door de straat, of je fietst door de straat, dan is het hartstikke leuk om te zien dat je tijdens je toch door één enkele gewoon begeleid wordt. Dat geeft gewoon een veilig gevoel en een prettig gevoel.
Ja, als ik normaal met mijn vriendin naar buiten sturen met een hond, dan zei ik van ja, ik heb er eigenlijk niet zin in straks om dat buiten de hond uit te laten. En nu gaat ze gewoon op eigen gelegenheid. Zegt van oh, ik neem de hond even mee, ik ga lekker buiten wandelen. Ik denk dat het grootste compliment is dat u kunt krijgen, dat zij een veilig gevoel heeft, dat zij s'avonds zelfs wel heel laat gewoon over straat kan.
die je wilt bereiken, de CO2-reductie, energiebesparing. En ik denk dat je bij dit soort systemen optimaal gebruik maakt van de energiebesparing. En het licht op maat levert. Zien wij toch als een toegevoegde waarde voor de openbare verlichting, waar wij als bedrijf ook zeg maar, in de toekomst zeker mee verder gaan.
Ik denk echt dat dit de oplossing voor de toekomst is. Energie besparen, op tijd de kapotte defecte lichtmasten ontdekken. Ik denk echt dat dit wel de toekomst is voor Nederland, voor Europa, voor de wereld. In ieder geval de toekomst voor de openbare verlichting. Dat denk ik echt.
So I think it's not my project, but it has been realized in Netherlands, in the small town of Van Gogh. And what I really like about this, that they provide the street lighting is providing lights only when it's needed and according to the user's necessity and the requirements of the habitats. So let's move on. One of the most dynamic voluntary organizations founded in 1988 for the purpose of raising awareness of growing impact of light pollution is the International Dark Sky Association. Its mission is to preserve and protect the nighttime environment and our heritage of dark skies through environmentally responsible outdoor lighting. Its members are directly responsible for initiating a number of states, local and even national lighting ordinances, and I would encourage you to join today, and there is the website. It's easy to remember, www.darksky.org. There are also conferences and symposiums. I would say so far it's growing. So far the first Light Symposium 2012 in Germany, then the ALAN, the International Conference on Artificial Light and Night, organized by this organization I mentioned before. I had the pleasure to speak here in Berlin, but there was already in 2014 in UK and another conference, and there was one organized in Quebec in 2016. There was also last year international conference on sustainable lighting and light pollution in Seoul, Korea. I think Asians, they really need to look into light pollution. And of course, this one in Graz. When thinking in a global scale, I would like to introduce you to a new initiative called Lights Out, which has started 2 years ago in North America. Under this voluntary program in participating cities, building owners and managers agreed to turn off or dim all architecture and internal lighting, especially in glass buildings, between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. during the spring and fall migratory bird season. It has shown that buildings committed to this program saved money, reducing the energy use, as well as reduce the risk of climate change and protected wildlife. Another visible initiative is Earth Hour, which started in 2007 as a lights-off event to raise awareness about climate change. Until today, there are 162 countries involved worldwide, and next Earth Hour is on Saturday, so next Saturday, 28th of March at 8:30. But it's more about the awareness, and it does not have any impact on environment as it's too short. It's only 1 hour. And I would like to show you the difference in light pollution of the city of Hong Kong. So the top picture is with partially lights switch on, and this is the full light pollution. To conclude my lecture, what are the ways to minimize the negative issues of light pollution of the Earth's atmosphere? I would say implementation of lighting master plans developed by professional and independent lighting designers and commissioned by city representatives, replacement of inefficient, ineffective, badly aimed lighting outdoor luminaires to reduce the amount of light and energy that is wasted, and final choice of long-life light sources, as well as their spectrum and optics and maintenance, mounting height and location, selection of appropriate intelligent lighting controls system, as we've seen before, where light levels can be reduced, and reduction in the number of hours that decorative lighting has been switched on. In compliance with local standards and environmental zones, until better legislation would be in place. For the end of my presentation, I do hope that this lecture made you all aware of our role and responsibilities as individuals on this planet. As a professional lighting designer, I believe that the only way for the future is to adopt a new concept for outdoor lighting and sustainability, integrated into governmental and local policies. The one in which we have to reconsider our design approach towards light pollution. As experts in the fields of external illumination, we need to rethink our fundamental principles we are designing towards, which are based on existing but also new scientific research, the ones which can bring new innovations and energy savings, as well as positive environmental impact. And I'm confident that the NASA picture you've seen previously showing the light pollution on Earth would look so different if only a lighting designer had been on board every time a new lighting scheme has been switched on. I have a request. Let's leave some dark skies for the future generations to come. Thank you very much.